Hello, folks. Thank you for joining us for Free to Soar. I started to say I'm Becky Vermeer. I'm Rebecca Adams. And
Will the real Becky Vermeer please stand up?
Yeah, I don't know. Remember the old game show, and they take turns.
We have our own version of To Tell the Truth going on.
Yes, exactly. So I have Becky Vermeer with me tonight.
Watch this. Hello.
Oh, there you go. We heard that one.
That's my bass, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Maybe baritone. We'll go with baritone. How's that?
Okay. Not quite deep enough to be a bass. Is that what you're saying?
No, not deep enough. Yeah.
How about alto? It's more like an alto.
Yeah. Okay. I can handle that. And Becky, would you like to introduce the ladies that are with you?
To my immediate right, I have our Crisis Center Shelter Director, Sunny Roberts.
Hello.
And the bottom of the screen is our court advocate, Shelly Barnes.
Hello.
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 There you go. So we were having fun talking with them earlier, but I know you have something you want to show us that's on your desk, Becky.
Let's see, what's on my desk? You know what today is? We're recording this on October 23rd.
Oh, okay.
Almost Halloween. So I was thinking about that a little bit, but then I was thinking about my real love. And my real love is musicals. So I so love them. So where's my other one? Hang on. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I have a pair of Wicked socks.
Ooh, Wicked
from the
socks.
musical Wicked.
Oh.
So on this side, you've got Glinda, the Good Witch. Or so we think. If you've seen Wicked, maybe not.
Yes.
And then we have Elphaba, who we think is the Wicked Witch, but if you've seen Wicked, maybe not. But I've had the joy of seeing it 3 times now at the Fox Theater in St. Louis, and it's amazing. So I thought I would share those socks. Also thinking about the time that Shelly and I were able to go to the Fox Theater and see Hamilton. So she also shares a love of musicals with me. So
I do.
It seemed like the appropriate pair of socks.
Yeah.
I would think so.
I don't think Hamilton had any socks for sale, so I don't have Hamilton socks.
There were no socks for sale at Hamilton?
I didn't see any.
No, that's really tragic.
I know. We all got t-shirts though, so there's that.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, I don't think you want to take and cut up your t-shirts and turn them into socks.
Oh.
No, those were expensive t-shirts.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
If you've ever bought a theater t-shirt, you're not cutting it
up. No, this is true.
What kind of earrings you got going on there tonight?
Well, I have my Lego earrings that I showed you on the last episode, only I have a different color. And these are true Legos. I didn't mention that with the other one. We get so the camera can pick it up. But these are real Legos that have been turned into earrings, and it's just not catching it right. But we have the link on our YouTube channel, and this lady is amazing. She kept saying, I know there's a way I can do this and turn them into earrings. And she kept trying, and she accomplished it. And her prices are very reasonable. When I bought all of these earrings that I have, they were $5 a pair. I have no idea if she's gone up in price or not, but you can't beat that for a pair of earrings that are fun. Talk about a conversation starter.
Right. Well, just to warn you, if they ever fall out of your ears, don't step on them.
Right. Oh my goodness. When my boys playing with earrings, listen to me, when they'd start Legos and I stepped on the first one, I think it was worse than the natural childbirth.
It's a feeling you never forget.
You don't. You don't forget it. Yeah.
People say they forget childbirth. You don't forget stepping on a Lego.
You don't
No.
forget stepping on a Lego. You really don't. So we left off on our last episode with a funny question, Becky. So go ahead and take it away.
So we were talking a little bit about how some days at the crisis center can be challenging. We hear and see things that your typical average person doesn't hear and see. We try to set up a way to protect ourselves. We establish some boundaries, those types of things. We try to leave work at work. Sometimes it shows up in strange places. And so the teaser, I guess, I gave at the end of the last episode was, have you ever had a dream about the crisis center? I, for one, know that I have. So do you two want to tell a dream, or do you want me to take it away first?
Go ahead.
You want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go first.
So there was this has been several years ago. In fact, we interviewed somebody on our program, Dr. Kim Rittman, and this was during a time when Dr. Kim Rittman was on my board of directors. So it's been quite a while ago. It was a particularly stressful time, very taxing. I was doing a lot of extra hours working on grants, dealing with my board. I was being pulled in like 7 different directions. In addition to doing that, I was very highly involved with the residents that we have in the shelter. So I was still trying to do some individual counseling and meet the needs of the residents in the shelter while trying to supervise the staff, because Sunny wasn't on board at that time as my shelter director, and I wasn't sleeping a lot. So there was a lot of stuff that was weighing on me. My personal feeling was I didn't feel like I was succeeding anywhere. And so this one particular night I have a dream. And I dreamed that we were in it was like a campground where they have like cabins on the campground. But when I walked in, there was a crowd of people in there, and Dr. Kim Rittman was at the front of the room, and I was being acknowledged for the work that I had done. So the intent was a surprise for me to walk in and somebody was acknowledging the work that I've been doing, which I was like, I've been doing a lot, so I appreciate that. So she calls me up front, and as I go up front to say thank you and receive my accolades, a resident that was staying in our shelter, who during that time was incredibly taxing, like all day, every day, all of us in the building were spending hours with this person. And so I stood up to say thank you, and from the back of the room, it was like a scene in The Princess Bride where they're like, boo, boo. And I was like, what? She stands up and she says, Becky doesn't deserve to be recognized. She made me wait a whole 5 minutes before she would talk to me today. And then I woke up.
Oh. Wow.
I was like, I made her wait a whole 5 minutes. So, you have to remember the work that we do. I tell people when they start working at the crisis center, your life ceases to matter when you walk through the front door. Not from your coworkers, not from your supervisors, but when you're in direct service, you're there to provide a service. And so that means all day, every day, you're providing this service. It doesn't matter if you didn't sleep last night. It doesn't matter if you have a migraine. It doesn't matter if you're sick to your stomach. It doesn't matter if you have family issues going on or health issues going on or whatever. You're there to provide a service. And it's not acceptable for us to go out to our residents and say, I'm having a bad day. Like, that's not acceptable. And so it is hard sometimes to jockey all of those things and still be attentive to everyone. And so that's the position that I was in during that time of life, where work was challenging, church was challenging, home was challenging. It was like all of those things. And so my subconscious decided to work it out by being frustrated by someone who was frustrated at me because I made him wait 5 minutes before I could talk to him. That's one of mine. What you got?
I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I can't think of anything. I had a dream one time that I took a resident home with me, but I don't recall the details of the dream. I just remember taking them home with me. So.
What about you, Shelly?
Well, the one that comes to mind that happened this last winter, it's always stressful when we know there's going to be bad weather because there's hills no matter whichever direction you come from, there's hill.
Mhm.
And I drive a little car. So getting to work is stressful. And so I'm always worried about ice or getting trapped at work and not being able to go home. And anyway, so that must have been on my mind when I dreamed this, but I had a dream that I had all the residents over at the house I grew up in. So it wasn't even like the house I'm in now. All my dreams always center on my childhood home, I swear. And I just had another one about it the other day, where I was trying to wash clothes and my washing machine was in pieces at my childhood home. Anyway, but yeah, I was like worrying about where's everybody gonna sleep, and we're all like crammed in this house and there's bad weather, and so I'm sure a lot of it was just worried about the weather and worried about the residents because we need, we're a 24/7 facility and we can't just be like, oh, sorry, bad weather, I'm just not going to work for a week.
Right, right.
So.
Well, Sunny might have a story that she can share with you about the real slumber party that she had at the crisis center.
Oh yeah. I did have a real slumber party. So the story starts with a family there was 5 children and the mother, and the mother was going to be gone for a short period of time, and she left a resident's adult daughter in charge of the 5 children. I was on call. I got a call from the resident's mother who stated that her daughter could not watch the children anymore. They were driving her crazy. She was going to start banging her head on the wall, and she could not keep them anymore. And so, because I was on call, the only thing I knew to do was hop in my car and drive really, really, really fast to the shelter, which I did. This was evening time by now, so I had worked my shift, gone home, came back, and found 5 children bouncing off the walls by themselves. And so I decided, what choice do I have but to stay? So I stayed, and as the night wore on, the baby pooped his pants, the children were hungry. I mean, it just, everything you could imagine was happening. And I'm thinking, where's the mother? Where is the mother? And I finally, about, I think it was probably 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, I get a call from Taney County Jail, and the mother was in jail. And so I think, okay, now what do I do? So I decide I'm going to stay the night with the children. So I had got the baby to bed, got the rest of the children laid down. They said, will you read us a story? So I crawled in bed with the kids, started reading them a story, and I see this, and then I see this, and then I see this. And so I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And so I looked in the kids' head, and of course they had head lice. And so I jump out of bed, read them a story from the chair, and then I get a call about, I don't even know what time, sometime in the middle of the night, from the mom, and she's begging me, call my friends for bail, call my friends for bail. So I'm on the hotline calling all these friends for bail money. By, I think it was like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, she did get bailed out and she did come back to shelter, but it was a very long night, trying night at the shelter, but it was worth it. Things happen, and that's just what we do. We figure it out. I mean, there was not much choice, so staying with the kids was the right choice.
I love
Yeah.
hearing your tone of voice, how steady you are with that. It's just like, it really wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, I was able to help out, and I'm thinking that's not what my reaction would have been.
I will tell you, on that particular night, I got several text messages. Pretty much all night long as well. I was trying to be moral, emotional support.
Yeah.
From the safety of my lice-free zone.
Yeah. Exactly.
For sure.
Wow.
But it's interesting when she shares that story because not everybody would do that.
No, they
You know,
wouldn't.
you look at the employees I've had over the years, not everybody would do that. But that's
Mm-mm.
when you say that you find the niche that fits, or this is home, or this is where you need to be. Sunny and Shelly both are people that I know that will step up and do what needs to be done.
Mhm.
Does it go above and beyond what your job description is? Yes. In theory, are you called upon to do that from time to time? Yes. But you know, there's that moral code of, is this the right thing to do?
Mhm.
And what else would you do? What else do you do in that situation? There's nobody around. There's nobody to call. You can't just walk out on 5 kids. What do you do?
Yeah.
So that was the conversation she and I had when she called me and she said, so this is happening. And she had 2 small children of her own at that time. So what do you do?
Yeah.
And so I said, well, are you willing? And she said she was. So that's what happened.
So did either one of you get any sleep that night?
I didn't.
Definitely not.
I probably got a little bit more than she did because there were times where she wasn't texting me that I was dozing. But even in that, I would, okay, I haven't heard from you in a while, you know, how's everything going, you know, or whatever else. And I offered to bring food and do some things like that, but she took care of it. So
I just remember asking Becky the next morning, can I go home and shower? That's all I want to do is I want to go home and shower.
Yes. Did you end up getting head lice? I gotta ask that.
No, I didn't.
Good.
Thank
Good.
goodness.
Well, I know
So-
that Becky has told me that you ladies have had some really funny experiences about abusers being in the cabins, you know, on the property. Can you share some of those with us?
Oh, it's my
share
favorite
the
thing.
story about sitting on the bed.
Doing what?
I said, share the story about sitting on the bed. Didn't you do that?
Sitting on the bed.
Or was that somebody else?
That was
Oh, I
somebody
sat on
else.
somebody?
But,
Never
Oh,
mind.
yeah, it wasn't
You
me.
share the stories you want to share. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I walked into one cottage and there was a guy sleeping in the bed. Nobody else was in there. And I'm like, get up. You can't be in here. He's like, well, she has my truck. I'm like, I don't care. He's like, well, can I just wait in here for her? I'm like, no, get up. And he was in his underwear. And I just stood there while I got dressed and escorted him out. And then I thought that probably wasn't my smartest choice. But then it was a couple weeks later where I found another guy in the shower. Well, usually you could tell because the bathroom door is shut and it's not usually left shut. But anyway, he was like speaking to me in this falsetto voice, trying to pretend that he was her child. And I'm like, well, first of all, her child's a teenage boy and you sound like a little girl right now. And I'm like, you're not so and so. And I opened up the shower curtain. I'm like, get out of here. He was in his underwear too. So he's like, well, can't I just use the bathroom? I'm like, no, get out of here. I was hardcore. I had no tolerance. I was just like, what? You think this is cool to sneak around a domestic violence shelter like this and hang, hide out? But I don't know. I used to kind of be scared of it in the beginning before I actually did it. And then it's actually, I love kicking people out. Guys that aren't supposed to be there. I'm like, get out of here. Great.
That just seems to be so contrary to who you are.
I know.
When I met you at the shelter, you were just so sweet and calm, and I love kicking people out of the shelter.
That's
Not
when
the
Mama Bear
residents.
comes out.
Yeah.
Just the guys. Yeah, because it's like you're here preying on this person and
Mhm.
get out of here. You don't need to be here.
Right.
Oh, and they're always in their underwear. I'm like, get some clothes on, dude.
Hey, at least they have underwear on.
Right?
That's true. I have not experienced it with no underwear. Thank goodness they have underwear on, because then it might be like, oh, great.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Saw too much.
Yeah. Exactly.
There have been times that I've been greeted by residents, well, not recently, but in years past, my first couple of years at the crisis center, I was greeted by residents with no clothes on, which is typically not your favorite either. You want to say, would you like to go put on a robe or put on a towel?
A sheet, we don't care.
Right? Yes. We do see people in all of their glory from time to time.
I'm sure you do.
It's true. I have seen that too.
Yeah. Have
And
you
it's
ever
not
read
because of
that?
fire drills or anything like that.
No.
No. Yeah, I ran off a guy who was hiding under a blanket and his feet were sticking out. And then the employee that Becky's talking about, we had kind of a low setting bed, and the guy had actually crawled under the bed, and she sat down on the bed and squished him under the bed. And then he made a noise, and so she told him to get out, and he couldn't get out from under the bed because he was so squished under there. And then another time we had our overnight employee, she caught a guy and he went out the window naked and ran down the road.
Did you start singing and then they call him the streak?
I was leaving work one day when a former employee was going to go do a cottage check because there was a suspicion that there was a man in the cottage. And so she went to one side of the cottage. There's two entryway doors on this particular cottage. And so she went to this side of the cottage. And as I was driving down the road, I looked this way and I saw him coming out the window on the front side. So I hollered at her and said, "He's out here."
Those windows, I don't remember them being that big that you could.
No,
They're not.
They're not.
But
It's
if you're
usually
trying to get
scrawny
away-
guys, though. My experience has been scrawny little guys.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. One employee found a guy, was he crouching in the curtain and his feet were sticking out, like cliche. It's the cliche like Scooby-Doo when you see somebody, but there's
Mhm. Well, Melissa
There was one that
probably
Melissa saw.
Yeah, the one she peeped over the shower.
Yeah, because she's like over 6 feet tall and he's like crouched down in the shower and she just kind of looks over and she's like, "Get out of here."
Love it.
That was so funny.
Yeah, so
Well,
we have fun things that happen.
What's that?
I had someone who asked me to come down and fix her AC. So I fixed it. So I go knock on the door to let her know. And there's a guy sitting in there on the bed. And I'm just like, "Get out of here." And it took a while to get him out of there. He was actually a little more obstinate than most, but usually you hear, "Well, they signed a confidentiality agreement. They could be here."
Right.
No,
That's not the way
how
that works. We found a resident with a man in her bed one time, and she said, "Well, he's my counselor."
Really?
Yeah, he's not your counselor. Get out.
Mhm.
This is very unethical practice going on here.
Very much.
Yeah.
Or we've heard stories of, "This is my brother," and then you find them together in bed. That's not your brother.
It's not your brother.
No,
No.
Hopefully not.
I've heard that too.
Thank you.
Well, while we're talking about it, what are some of your favorite funny stories that you've had happen to you at the crisis center?
Oh my gosh, my very favorite funny story. We had a lady staying in shelter and she called the hotline at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was not on call, but the staff member on call got the call from her and she said, "There's a ghost in my cottage." And so the employee talked her down, told her that there probably wasn't a ghost in her cottage, that it might be something creaking. She wasn't sure, but there was definitely not a ghost in there. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, the employee got another call and the resident said, "There's a rat in my bed." And so she said, "Someone will be there shortly. And when they get there, they'll come down and investigate." And so I was the first one to come on shift that morning. And so I get there and it was cold and she was sitting on the front porch shivering. And
Oh.
I said, "How long have you sat here?" And she said, "I've been here since 6 o'clock in the morning because there's a rat in my bed." And so I said, "Well, it's 8 o'clock in the morning now. I highly doubt there's a rat in your bed, but I'm going to come down and take a look." So I go down and pull the covers back and look, and I don't see anything. And so I'm like, "There's no rat in your bed. It's, maybe something different. I'm not sure, but I don't see anything at all." And she said, "No, I promise you it's in there." So I ripped the covers back as hard as I can. And lo and behold, there's a baby possum in her bed. And it started hissing at me. And so I didn't know what to do. I felt terrible for the woman because she had clearly been telling the truth. And so I hobo sacked the possum with the sheet, and I took it past the dumpster and dumped it out and freed it for her. But she had left her screen door open, and so it took liberty to come in where it was warm and sleep with her. So.
It crawled up bed. It crawled up her leg basically while she was in the bed. I'd have ran it too.
Okay, so I'm going to compare this story, and there's no comparison. I was working here in my office a week ago, and I knew where my dog was, and all of a sudden I saw activity over out of the corner of my eye, the right corner of my eye. It's this mouse that was the perfect color of my carpet. His body was probably only about that long, you know. I screamed bloody murder like somebody's coming at me with an axe. I'm not kidding. And my dog looked at me like, "What's wrong?" That would have been 10 million times worse if I had felt fur on my leg.
Oh.
I was in bed. I'm sorry. I could not have done what that lady did. I wouldn't have been sitting on the porch. I would have been run down the road about 15 miles.
I guess originally why she thought there was a ghost in there is it came in and rattled her pots and pans. And so that's what she was hearing and thought it was a ghost. But then it decided to crawl in bed with her. So that
It was
even
cold.
worse. Yeah.
Those pots and pans were cold too, you know.
I'm sure she was comfortable.
Oh boy.
Sunny, what would you have done if that had been you in that bed and something furry had crawled in?
Oh my gosh. I probably would have ran 5 miles down the road. I don't even know. I don't even know what I would have done.
I'd have been creeped out for sure.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So yeah, so the Crisis Center is notorious for that. There's a training that a certain coalition member does that includes a picture of our possum.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, Sunny,
that's
you
our
were the
claim to
hero.
fame.
Yeah, Sunny, you were the hero there.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have thought about the little gunny sack trick with the pillowcase. Would not have dawned on me. Shelly, what kind of funny stories do you
What's
know?
funny?
Well, I'm trying to think of specific funny stories. I know we laugh a lot at work, usually at the lunch table. And we've been there long enough that there's enough personal jokes, or like you can just say something, it's funny because of something else. And so you just laugh. So there's just a lot of laughter in general with that, and especially at lunchtime. But we've had some really fun staff meetings where, like, we have a Halloween party, and one time we had we have two employees. One's no longer working there, but they would never dress up. But Cindy, who's our SB victim advocate, she got them to dress up, and so they came out all dolled up, and that was hilarious because they were kind of hating it, but she made them do it. Remember that with Dee and Linda?
Yes.
That was so funny. And then we had another one where I don't know if it was a shower game or it was just a game we were doing, but the banana between the legs where you had to run around. Laughed so hard. It was like a relay race with a banana between your legs. Was it a banana?
Yeah, it was a banana.
Banana, yeah.
And just for the record, since you're talking about it, Cindy and I won against Sunny and Becca's team, but Cindy and I did better. Yeah, not everybody participated in that one, but
That
It was
sounds
like
really familiar.
Becca's first meeting, but it was fun. So we'll do different things like that, and it's just, you know, it lets off a lot of steam and you get rid of a lot of stress, and so we have a lot of fun as a staff. Becky keeps us rolling, and Becky and Sunny's bantering is very hilarious too. And you just warn the new ones, don't take sides. When they ask you a question about what you think, you're Switzerland. You don't know.
If one of us ever says, "Hey, I have a question for you," just don't
Yeah.
answer it.
That's the red flag. You're like, no, I can't hear you. I don't know what you're saying.
What kind of things do they banter about, Shelly?
Everything.
Oh, they're like, what would you call this? Would you say this is a cupboard or a cabinet? And so then you pick what you would do, and then it's like, aha, because one of them's right. He agrees with me. And what were some of the other things? Oh, do you put on your deodorant before you put your shirt on or after your shirt? Or after your shirt's on. So it's like things like that they really need to know, because it makes one of them win.
Yes.
And we know that
Because-
Becky is very competitive.
She is.
So is Sunny, though.
Yeah, Sunny is too, but boy, I've been on
Who's the
Becky's bowling
funniest?
team.
Yeah.
I mean, Shelly majored in bowling in college.
He wants to win. I know. That was my degree. Just kidding. I happened to mention that I took a bowling class as an elective, and now it was my degree. It was my bowling degree. I kept having guys ask me out on dates to go bowling, and I was terrible at it. And I thought, well, I already have to take this math class. I might as well take a bowling class with it. So I became a good bowler. But then I met my husband and I beat him, and we didn't go bowling again for probably 20 years. So I kind of lost my bowling mojo. And yeah.
But as a staff,
Never to be
we were going
regained.
bowling. And so Shelly happened to share that story. And so me, being the competitor that I am, was picking my team. And so since Shelly was this great colossus of a bowler,
I wasn't. It was terrible.
She wasn't.
Again. I should
I
have
was misled.
practiced.
I think
know.
Sunny put you up to that to mislead me.
Maybe. You'll never know.
Yeah, so Sunny and I will fight about anything, just so
Yeah.
you know. And then we incorporate the entire staff into it typically.
So what's the psychology behind that, Sunny?
I have no idea.
We're both competitive. That's all it is.
It's what?
So we're both competitive. I'm determined that I'm always going to win, and so is she.
She's always determined she's funnier than me.
Well, that's a given.
Matter of fact, her Alexa says when you ask it who is funny, her Alexa says that she's funnier than Sunny.
It does.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Have you ladies watched the one from the episode with Leah where we did the interview and it ended up talking about the ping pong table?
Yes.
So has that tournament ever gone on?
No, she's afraid.
So but nobody can find the key to the closet that it's locked in. For some
So she
reason.
says. So she says. She's scared.
Uh-huh. Sure she is, Becky.
It's disappeared for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, it just disappeared into thin air.
I know a good locksmith down there in Branson. Can I hire him to come and unlock that door for you?
Please do.
I mean, if you really want to see Leah cry, you can do that. She'll cry.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think that's the way it's going to end.
It is.
Somebody's going to be wearing the t-shirt with the other person's picture on it.
Leah's going to be wearing my face. That's what's gonna happen. No, wait. The loser. Wait, she'll be the loser. I'm gonna be wearing her face. She's gonna lose. Wait,
No.
how do we do that?
She has to wear
The
your
punishment is to wear the other person's face, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So she's gonna have to wear my face. There's no doubt about it.
Okay. I think, Becky, I think you're scared because see, you could pay for that locksmith just like I could.
No,
You don't.
I don't even need to pay for a locksmith. I'll just take the lock off. I'm notorious for that. How many times have y'all seen me take a lock off of something?
She loves doing that.
Yeah,
It's
it's
true.
like my
I've seen
favorite
it
thing.
probably a handful of times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, Becky, I'm going to challenge you. Take the lock off and
Okay.
prove that you're not scared.
I'm not the least little bit scared. That's
I
the
think
other
she-
thing that they'll tell you. I'm not scared of anything.
No. She needs to reorder the paddles though. Oh no, that was for the air hockey machine. I guess she has paddles.
Does she have regular
For-
ping pong paddles?
I
We've
think
been
so.
kind of busy with demolition. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, Becky, is that your excuse or is that a
No, I'm not the
reason?
least little bit afraid. No, not scared at all.
Okay.
There's no question in my mind what the outcome is going to be.
Okay. I'll turn it back over to you, Becky, for questions because this could last all night.
It could.
Mhm.
It could. And so that's just a little taste of what she and I do all of the time that the staff gets involved in. Silly things like, does this shirt match? Do these shoes match my outfit?
Mhm.
That was just last week.
Becky has a hard time matching.
No, I don't.
Thank you, Sunny. We appreciate that piece of information.
Half the staff thought I looked just fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do her socks match her outfits?
Sometimes.
No, rarely. No. My
Sometimes.
socks are fashion statements.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have to match.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, no, they don't have to match.
Okay.
I prefer if they don't, actually.
Then they notice the socks. Is that why?
Mhm.
Okay.
So then if we've talked about some funny stuff, what's some sad stuff that you've had to deal with working at the crisis center? Stuff that's hard to hear, stuff that's hard to deal with.
I can think of one time that I worked with a resident as a domestic violence victim advocate, and it was her and her adult daughter staying in the shelter, and she came off very well spoken. She was a very clean person. She seemed to have a very clear goal and action plan. And I worked with her for about 75 days. And then I happened to visit in her cottage one day, and I was doing a cottage check and I could smell something. And I opened the refrigerator and it was like plate upon plate upon plate of just old food. And so it kind of opened a conversation with her. And I said, kind of what's going on with this? Well, she, unbeknownst to me at the same time, was also having a mental breakdown. And so what I didn't know was she had multiple personality disorder. She was struggling. Every time I had given her a phone number and said, go ahead and call this number for help with this or help with that, she never made the phone calls. And I just found it horribly sad that it took that much time as her advocate to really find out what was going on with her. And also that she was in the situation that she was in, that she had learned through life to play it well. And so it was just really sad to me that she had that learned behavior to where she had to hide under a mask all of the time. And because of that, it made her short for time to get things together that needed to get put together, which we did end up getting a good plan for her, and she did leave to a good place. But it was just very scary and very sad at the same time.
Wow.
I think for me, it's working with someone for a long time, especially if they're in transitional, because you get to know them for like a year, possibly two, if they're there that long. And getting to know them so well and know what they've come from, what they've overcome, especially if it's substance abuse disorder or something like that, that they've overcome, and then they just kind of disappear. And then you hear later that they're back in an abusive situation and using again. And it's just sad because they were doing so well, and to know that they got derailed. That actually happened today. I found out about a past person who had left, and I didn't know where they'd gone. And it's just really sad because especially if there's children involved and you know how it's affecting their children. But yeah, it's things like that. And I understand how that works, and how you know, sometimes it takes several times, you know, before you really get to where you're truly ready to get away from it. But it's hard to witness somebody's journey, because you know, sometimes we'll have people that we've seen several times, and to know that they're still getting hurt and you know, and struggling with different things, that can be hard because you have a relationship with them. You know, they've shared a lot with you. You've seen them several times. You've known them for quite a while, and that can be difficult.
That would be.
Because in addition to dealing with people who are victims of domestic violence, we also have people who struggle with issues of substance abuse, or they struggle with mental health issues. And so there's so many other things that are going on at that moment. And so some of the stories that we hear are harder to hear than others, just because there's already these roadblocks that are set against them before they even come into shelter. So it's not just, not to minimize domestic violence, but it's not just the abuse they're encountering. It's the dynamic of all the things going on around them. You know, and I've shared several stories in the past on our podcast about issues that victims are facing. And so when you know you've given someone the tools to succeed, but they can't, and I hate to use the word to succeed, but you've given someone the tools to facilitate change in their life, let's say that, and then they don't use those tools. And in fact, sometimes because they don't use those tools, they end up in a worse place now than they were when we saw them when they came into our program. And those are the kind of heartaches we mourn with people. And you know, we, as much as we celebrate with people, we also mourn with people. And so again, because we are people helping people, we run the whole gamut of emotions as well. We may not show it on the outside, but when you do have a heart for compassion, when you are empathetic, when you are trying to facilitate change in a person's life, and you can see it, like I've had people that have been right there, and I can see this amazing potential about to happen, and then they just drop off. And those are the struggles I think that we have to face all of the time, which I think, you know, we've talked about when we're a little bit ago, we're laughing. And I think that's why it's always been important to me to create an environment at the crisis center where we celebrate and we have fun and we just be silly sometimes, because one, it models behavior to our residents that you can be silly. It's okay to do something you might embarrass yourself, but who cares if you embarrass yourself? You know, we model some of those behaviors. But so it's good to show that, but it's also good for us as a way to kind of process through the things that we're dealing with all day too.
What are some other things you do to deal with those kind of situations?
Talking it over with coworkers helps.
I paint, I do artwork. I think that helps me decompress a lot.
That's good.
Going for walks.
Yeah.
Do what?
Going for walks.
Mm-hmm.
Blasting music when I get off work, if for some reason is super therapeutic to me, I just blast it, and that helps relieve a lot of stress.
And there are times where I know we've got some particularly challenging things going on, and y'all can vouch for this, where I'll say maybe we need to lock the office and just order food, you know what I mean, or something like that. And so let's just be us for a minute and not deal with anything, because this has been a really hard week. So let's not talk about work. Let's cut up and act silly, you know. And I think bringing in that element of levity is important sometimes. And I think it's good when we see that. Sonny and I will see that. I'm like, you know what? We need to have a staff meeting where we play games. What's a good game? We'll divide, and then we'll bring in our competitive nature. We'll divide into teams and let's do this silly thing. But I think one of Cindy's goal is to embarrass me sometimes, but she's found that I don't get embarrassed and she doesn't get embarrassed. So when she suggests a game, I'm always like, let's play it. And, we'll try to get everybody else involved. And for what it's worth, it takes everybody's mind off of it for 20 minutes. And if that's what it does, then it was worth it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
But I agree with Shelly's statement, finding a coworker and processing through it, because we can actually really be our true authentic selves with our coworkers. You can go home and talk to your family, your spouse, your significant other, and try to process your day. They don't understand what you're trying to process to begin with. You're also speaking in code because we're still trying to respect the confidentiality of our residents.
Yeah.
And so you spend as much time and energy trying to figure out how to frame what I'm trying to say. Sometimes it's not worth it. And so we can sit and be our true authentic selves with each other. And we can say things like, the resident number 7 is really making me mad. And nobody's going to judge us because we say that person's making me mad. We can process through that. And then, it's like, okay, break. Now we got a plan. And, we can walk out and face it again. And so there's a lot to be said for facilitating those relationships with each other, fostering those relationships.
Yeah.
I don't know that every program does that, but if they don't, they certainly should.
I can see that it's been very, very good, very enhancing for your staff, because I can tell that there's always a good cohesive bond between all of you.
Yeah.
No matter at what point I've been there.
Yeah.
And we need to wrap up a second episode. So, yeah. Shelly, would you like to teach us the international hand signal?
Sure. Put your hand up, put your thumb in, fingers down. And then do it several times as needed.
Thank you. I love that.
You're
I love it
welcome.
because you don't have to even know the language if you're in another country. You can just simply do the hand signal. Yeah. Thank
Even a
you.
child, I think, could recognize and say, Mom, what is that person doing? And get the attention of the parent even. So yeah, it's incredible.
My grandson, I taught it to my youngest grandson yesterday, and he said, yeah, he said, I've seen that before. I said, you have? Did they teach you that in school? No. He said, I saw it on a YouTube video. I said, okay. I didn't know if you saw ours. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's really important for kids, because kids, I mean, you ladies see this all the time with the children of your residents. And who knows that, maybe their abusive father or mama's boyfriend or whatever would show up, and they would need to come to you and just go like that and just, get you to help them with whatever is going on. Yeah. Well, folks, thank you for joining us with episode number 2, and please come back and join us for our next episode. Remember that no matter where you are in this process, you're always free to soar.